Hey everyone. For all the mid that Netflix has been dropping, I think we could all agree that some shows should have never been cancelled, especially coming from a network that puts out anything. So this video is me venting about shows that had so much potential but end up getting the axe. Some of these shows include the COVID cancellations, while others Netflix just said, fuck it. The first show we'll be talking about is Grand Army. Grand Army had the potential to be Netflix's Euphoria. I saw a creator's video on this, but check out her video. It does a better job explaining how the impact Euphoria could have been for Netflix, basically, with Grand Army. But Grand Army basically was a teen drama taking place in New York, which was pretty surreal, and was talked about, diversity, and also was a really relatable experience coming from someone in New York. It addressed trauma in a way which people in high school go through, and don't get me wrong, some of these episodes are really heavy and dark. It's definitely more of a darker side of things than the comedy aspect of it. It's kind of a melodrama. The cast was really great, really diverse. The actors were talented, and the sets looked amazing. Like, for the most part, it actually looks like a school in the city, which, a lot of shows kind of try to rip off of, and they don't actually film it in the city, but you could tell this was actually filmed in the city. It really was a talking piece of social issues at the time, especially surrounding schools in America. Here's your spoiler warning. The plot surrounds a bombing in the city, and the school's going to lockdown mode, and they use this to introduce our characters and how everyone kind of reacts to the event. There's some great social commentary with Sid being really worried about the bombing, how it will have lasting effects on people who look like him, and it really hits home, especially with, current events going on and stuff. How many times are people being generalized and stereotyped for something that didn't have anything to do with them, but just because they look like the assailant, they're kind of like blamed for it anyway. The characterization is really strong. Like, look at the party scene here. While it's a normal high school thing to go out to a local party, everyone does it. Dominique's character, who we know is responsible and pretty grounded, especially for someone in high school, and she doesn't end up going, and immediately cuts to her taking care of her siblings. Not only is it a good juxtaposition, but it's also just very relatable. It's a great scene and great cut. But at least for me, I know I miss parties because I had to ever take care of my sister or being basically a housemaid at home. Anyway, let's talk why it was canceled. Part of the reason why, besides the low viewer counts that Netflix blames why they canceled the show, was the alleged racism the writers experienced. So Ming Pfeiffer actually was one of the writers in the writer's room who experienced and actually spoke about the racism that her and other writers of color felt during the production. So back in 2020, Ming Pfeiffer basically says, "Me and the 3 writers of color who worked on a TV show quit due to racist exploitation and abuse. The showrunner and creator went full Karen and called HR on the black writer in the room for getting a haircut. Yes, you read that correctly. Who wants to interview us?" And this is just the start of her next tweets. And just what's the irony of a show that addresses race and racial tension has writers experiencing this annoying racism in the show. She then goes on to say, it matters who hears you, who says, I understand, this shit just writes itself. Really heard and understood us when we told you how exploitative the show was. Try to underpay the Latinx writer who just won an Emmy, meanwhile creator had never worked in TV before, but the 3 of us had. It is crazy. Netflix was fully aware of it all and did nothing except hire more writers of color to lend their names to the show, then had the audacity to reach out 2 years later in anticipation of the release to hear our concerns. And when cancellations like these happen, you always think it has to be for a second reason and just lowers your viewership count, because this show was pretty popular for the time, especially during COVID when it came out, and we finally got the real reason why it probably got canceled. This one hurts. Next show, American Vandal. So this show was definitely under the radar, and I thought it was like a low-key banger, where not a lot of people I think seen this show, and maybe that's the reason why you're gonna say, oh, that's why it's canceled, idiot. But for those who don't know, American Vandal is a pretty lighthearted sort of true crime comedy about vandalism going on in high school, and the main protagonist kind of solves mysteries as he documents it in this kind of crime noir style. The show ended after 2 seasons, but it had great potential, and don't get me wrong, I don't think it needed 6 seasons or anything like that, but I want at least 1 or 2 more seasons, and it didn't feel necessary to cancel it. Season 1 was probably the best season, but season 2 has some great commentary, so I was excited to see what they planned for the future seasons. And the show was short but sweet, but honestly it was really funny, and it's kind of like a perfect weekend binge to watch with family or friends. And I'll encourage you to check it out. It's easy to watch, great with family or friends, and if it kind of has that social commentary aspect if you really look out and pay attention to it. This season was Emmy nominated. It's a good watch. There's a rumor that Netflix wanted to keep their originals productions in-house, and American Vandal is actually a CBS production, so maybe it costs too much to produce. I don't know, I'm just speculating. Or maybe our products are simply just more profitable, sadly, at the end of the day. Oh, by the way, the showrunners dropped the show on Paramount, parroting esports, but I didn't watch it because, who has Paramount? But it has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, so check it out. Okay, so let's talk I'm Not Okay With This. It took me a while to get into this show after watching The End of the Fucking World. My friends kept recommending me the show, and honestly, I'm the friend that puts effort onto shows, so I was a bit hesitant at first to watch it, but damn, was I wrong. Like, this show was a hidden gem. It's a British coming-of-age story that highlights sexuality and our protagonist's journey as a teenager, sort of going through the motions. I think the last episode is really strong, and you get to see it for you gotta see it for yourself. Spoiler warning. Yes, this is your spoiler warning. Anyway, she ends up having telekinetic powers, and the episode ends, and she like blows somebody's I think his head off or his dick off, one of the two. And immediately I'm like, where's season 2? I need answers, because the show does not come off at all as like a sci-fi show, but apparently it's all about like the sci-fi aspect to it, and it's based off like I believe a graphic novel. Correct me if I'm wrong. But immediately I'm like, I need season 2. But fun fact, if you watch both shows, End of the Fucking World and I'm Not Okay With This, and wonder why they feel so similar, they actually both have the same director, Jonathan N. Twistle, if I pronounced that right. And this sucks because this show is like a good like weekend watch. Like, it's pretty short. I believe the episodes are only 30 minutes, not like an hour an episode type of thing. And so really, why was this show canceled, right? I guess you could say after the show, Netflix thought wasn't profitable, right? Because why would you cancel a profitable show? But anyway, so this was a victim of the pandemic. They were actually greenlit for season 2. I'm not sure if they actually finished the script for it, but they did plan to make a season 2 because it ends on a cliffhanger for season 1, and we know cliffhanger endings are the worst endings. It's interesting though because allegedly Stranger Things, the showrunners of I'm Not Okay With This allege that Stranger Things have set such a high standard for Netflix originals that it's kind of hard to really put out a show that kind of can match that popularity and that high quality that Netflix wants. But what's your thoughts on that? Do you think it's kind of like a lame scapegoat answer? I mean, personally, I sort of agree. I feel like I do agree and I don't agree at the same time, because we've seen some pretty good Netflix shows come out recently, like Beef. I think Outer Banks came out after this or before this, and just a few to name. But also at the same time, they kind of put out anything, and we know anything.
You were a housepot and gave me purpose.
Especially with their original movies, I feel like those are like probably the worst things they put out. But I don't know. I think it's an interesting take, and kind of shouts at Netflix for that. And now, for the last show on this list, Neo Yokio. Joking. I thought about putting The Witcher on here as an honorable mention, 1989 on here, Shadow and Bone. But I actually either dropped those shows or I didn't really finish them, so I don't feel like really worthy of talking about them enough. And I dropped The Witcher. I was going to put The Witcher on here, but I dropped The Witcher after season 1. I tried to get to season 2, but I thought it was lame. Anyway, so the actual last show was Society. But Society is a teen YA drama on Netflix that surrounds a small town. But after they go on a field trip out of town, they come back and all of their parents and adults are gone, and the town is basically a ghost town. Wow, I said town a lot there. But high schoolers, small town, they go out for a trip, they come back, and everybody's basically missing. So now they have to form a society, wink wink, based off of high schoolers. The pilot is phenomenal. You will be hooked. It's atmospheric and does a great job foreshadowing the mystery and suspense, but throws you into the character dynamics of each character. I can make a whole video breaking down the pilot, like no joke. If you've seen early episodes of The 100, it's very similar to the sense that these teens now have to figure out how to form basically a government, how to build kind of a community together. I'm trying not to say the word society. But how is food gonna work? Are they gonna do rations? Is everyone for themselves? Is there any real laws set in stone? How does money work if there's no real set value for things? Are we going to be bartering for goods? What about crime? Who's helping? There's a crime committed? Medical professionals. I'm sick. I need medicine. Stuff like that. So it raises a lot of questions. And let's talk about the pilot. So, like, the pilot does a good job answering some of these questions already and sparking your curiosity. Like, the grocery scene is kind of perfect, summarizing like my point about the rules. Everyone's sort of peaceful getting groceries, and there's a small dispute about who gets what. But imagine it just turned into a huge thing of like, hey, I'm gonna take all these, and you're not gonna stop me, right? So what's stopping someone just raiding the medicine cabinet or, you know, the water supply and just keep everything for themselves? Like, I'm a sap for like shows like this, so where a collective group has to kind of govern for themselves. The mystery had a Manifest-like feel to it, like in the same ways that Manifest has like the plane and everything goes missing and they reappear. It kind of has that vibe to it. The production was great and the characters were really well written, so if you have not seen it, watch it now. But no joke, I like turn off the video and go watch it. Joking, kind of joking. Anyway, so this was canceled because of COVID, and I think most of us know that by now. This did not survive the COVID cancellations, and the cost of production was just too high, allegedly. I get it, the pandemic pushed back basically everything, but I would take the show getting delayed a few years than you just flat out just canceling the show and then just axing it. And this one hurts because the potential it had. It was a solid season. I think this could have been a huge hit for Netflix going forward. The reviews were good, and overall it's pretty positive like feedback on the show. It's very popular. Like, I actually looked up like, you know, some things about the show, preparing for the video obviously, and there's like 2 petitions of like about 200,000 people signed petitions to bring the show back. It's kind of showing how popular the show is. But I think it goes back to the previous point about I'm not okay with this, where if Netflix doesn't believe they have the next Stranger Things level hit, or, you know, Money Heist level hit, Orange is the New Black level hit, they're just gonna like give it the axe or give it the boot, just cut their losses right there. There have been so many good Netflix shows, good and bad Netflix shows, originals and movies. I just wanted to reminisce and reflect on the ones I thought were really good and I really remembered and liked, and some that weren't that good. But what are some shows that you wished that were still around, Netflix or not? Let me know. I might do a part 2 video of shows I wish were actually canceled that they should have just axed before. And I don't think I'm going to leave it to Netflix. It might just be a general like network thing, like maybe Max, Hulu, who knows. But any shows or anything like that, you guys let me know. And that's all I got for now. Please like, subscribe. It does help. We're trying to get to 500 subs, so it is definitely growing. So thank you all, and peace.